Good morning, good evening, and afternoon to what is it? I think this might be episode 5. So many, I'm starting to lose count. Now, when I first posted up on the Pinball Info forum that we'll be looking to do these, as I said, there was a hive of activity with people saying, "Oh, I'd like to do it. I'd like to do it," which I think is really cool. One of the first people to get in touch with me was today's guest, who's Craig, and you may well know him as I think it's Roadshow on the, but I'll let Craig correct me on that. His moniker on the forum. He contacted me. Then someone else contacted me and said, "What you want to do is you want to get Craig on." And then last night, after I'd just finished doing the podcast with Neil said, "Oh, you might want to get Craig on. It's Roadshow on the forum." I thought, okay. And then afterwards, sort of later on last night, I had a really nice message, but it was somebody who will be coming onto this podcast anyway. And he said, "I've watched a few of your gameplay videos on your channel, and I just think you'd really improve your scores if you did X, Y, and Z." And basically, he was saying I was crap, but in a nice way. And he said, "Somebody you might want to speak to is Craig." So there you go. I'm going to bring him in now. Here he is. How are you, mate?
Yeah, very well, mate. And you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thanks, buddy. So why is it, pray tell, that I need to speak to you about my surely already glorious pinball technique?
I don't know. I've been doing it a while. Let's put it that way. And I've got a bit of an obsession with rules and game knowledge and skills and all that kind of stuff. And I like to share it. I guess I've got a bit of a following with that. I don't know.
So you've got some videos out, how to do flipper skills, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I did them a long time ago. To be fair, I probably 6-7 years ago now. It was actually through Home Leisure Direct when they were first getting into the pinball scene. And I'm in Bristol, and so are they. And they said, "Look, come along, do some videos for us." And I was just like, "Do you know what? Yeah, let's do it." So I did them, and they've had some of them have had like 100,000 views on YouTube. People have seen them a lot all over the world. I actually I saw Neil last night, and he talks about Pinburg, and I went to Pinburg in the last one in 2019, and people, all the way in the States were coming up to me and saying, "Oh, you're that guy who did the Star Trek t-shirt." I was like, "Yeah," and honestly, it wasn't that good. It wasn't like Bowen or anything like that. A lot of the big guys, but yeah. Anyway.
Well, I clearly need some flipper skills anyway. So you're going to Pinfest, right?
Of course, yeah.
So I'll tap you up for some skills, and I'll show you how I managed to drain a ball even when I seem to have full control of the flippers and I'm looking directly at it. It's quite something to behold. How long have you been playing competitively then?
So, I think I was 19 or 20, something like that. So I'm 36 now. The first tournament I went to was the Southwest League. So, for those who don't know, we have a UK Pinball League, and there are regional coordinators. The overall coordinator is Wayne Johns. He's on the forum, and he oversees the whole league. It used to be Greg Mott. Greg set it up. Neil mentioned Greg last night, and now he's passed it over to Wayne. And basically, the league exists in each region in the country. So I'm in the Southwest. I went to my first. I think I was about 20, something like that. And I didn't really know it existed. I had no idea. It was just one of those ones where I was actually getting back into pinball. I'd not been into pinball for about 5-6 years, something like that, since I was much younger. So my pinball journey actually started when I was about 12, 13. And then I went off to uni, met girls and stuff like that, and lost the interest for pinball pretty much. And then when I came back to Bristol after I finished my university degree, I thought, all right, let's see what's going on. Found out about the league format and started playing in the Southwest League. and it basically started from there. You know, it's a really friendly environment to play, and you meet some good people. I think in that first league meet, there was about 20, 25 or something like that, and I think I came fourth. So I thought, oh, I must be all right at this. I didn't, you know, I up until that point, I'd never really played with people. I'd obviously played a lot of machines because I'd been collecting for many years, but I didn't know I was any good at it. And I met all these people, and I came fourth, and I thought, oh, that's pretty damn good. I'm pleased with that. And so then it basically snowballed from there.
Okay, well let's go back then to
Sure.
you said when you were 12 or whatever. How did you see in your first pinball machine? How did you get into it? How did that happen?
Yeah. So the truth is, I was actually a little bit addicted to fruit machines. So when I was 12, 13, I used to go on like to caravan parks and all that kind of stuff. And my parents were a little bit worried about me because basically all the money that I had just was chucked in fruit machines. And so my dad decided to buy me a game of skill instead of just chucking your money away when I think it was my 13th Christmas present. And it was a bow and arrow 1974 electromechanical pinball machine. And
What a present!
yeah, it was 50 quid. And which I know sounds ridiculous nowadays, but you know, that was 1999. So yeah, he bought me that, and I had no idea what it was. I'd literally never seen one before. Didn't like, you know, it was this old clackety reels electromechanical thing. If I'm honest, I thought it was pretty crap, and it wasn't really working. I wasn't that bothered about it, and my dad was really disappointed. And then he was just like, because he was disappointed, he bought me another one about a month later. Well, we bought one about a month later, which was a Bride of Pinball, and that was the one that really just kind of changed everything. I think that one was 120 quid from a chip shop in Bristol. Yeah. And that one was fully working. It was a bit rough, but it was fully working, and it was just like from that point on, I was just like, you know, I just was hooked, and then it just snowballed from there. So from 13 to 16, I think we owned, so as in my age, so from 1999 until 2002, 2003, I think we bought between us about 60 games in those 3 years. Yeah.
So your dad's as much into it as you are at this point, I take it.
Yeah. Not the playing actually, more than the mechanical side of things. He's always been into like his cars and stuff like that, and fixing stuff. And so the idea that he could buy something that was broken and fix it up was his thing, and it just became a little bit of an obsession pretty quickly. Basically, he lost his job, and so for about a year, it was kind of all we did. And that was when I was 16. So my handle is Roadshow 16. So Roadshow is my favorite game, and or one of my favorite games. And it was when I was 16 that I got Roadshow, and that was the year that it kind of all really kicked off. Probably one of the best stories from that time was I bought out this guy. He was a landlord actually in Blackburn, and he was advertising a Street Fighter 2. It was in Loot, for those back in the day that remember.
Yeah.
Loot.
It was the yellow or the pink newspaper, wasn't it? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So it was just as like the internet was kind of coming in really, and stuff. And so the free ads papers were the places where you could get kind of cheap pinball machines. He advertised the Street Fighter 2 for 150 quid, and it basically sat there for about 3 months. Nobody was interested in it at 150 quid. I know that sounds ridiculous now, but that was the truth. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe I could get it for like 100 or something. I'll give him a bell. So I rang him, and he was just like, yeah, no, it's 150. I was like, all right, well, I'll leave it then. And he said, but I have actually got some others. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And he was like, all right, I'll send you over a list. They'll all be about 100, 150 quid each. And I was like, okay. And there was 17 games, and yeah, we bought them all. So we basically went up.
Wow. Well, what was obviously not all the 17. What sort of stuff was in there?
So it was all like Getaway, Judge Dredd, Diner, Silverball Mania, Space Invaders. So like some older classic Bally stuff, and then 92, 93, nothing big, nothing like Adam's Family, Twilight Zone, or Scared Stiff or anything like that. But a lot of the B range titles, but all for about 100 to 150 quid. So yeah, that was basically what started it all. Really going like, okay, well, we had to buy a lockup, we had to do it all properly at that point, and that's when it all kind of
Could you play them? Could you play them in a lockup, or were you taking selected ones to play at home?
Yeah, that was it. Basically, it was the case of we had room probably for about 4, so we would just rotate, alternate as Dad would do them up. It became a real thing, and it also became like my first job really, because I started making making a bit of money from it. Obviously, if you're buying them for 100 quid and selling them for 300, 400 or whatever. It became my
Sure.
I know, and that's how I like bought my first car and stuff like that, from doing all this kind of stuff. So yeah.
No, it's amazing if you can ever turn your hobby into a job. That is an amazing thing. Certainly. Yeah. What do you think of bearing in mind what you just said about the prices? What about the prices now? How does that make you think? Because obviously there's some people coming into it and just paying the prices, but now you're looking and thinking, I mean, what do you think of it?
It's tricky, isn't it? I've been through like a strange kind of roller coaster with it. My expectations I don't have at points fit in line with what the current prices are, but then you just move with the times, don't you? Pinball's clearly, now I've been doing it over 20 years or whatever it is, 23 years. It's part of me, it's part of who I am, and if I want to be part of it, you just have to move with the times. And so things are going to be more expensive. I'm not going to get a getaway now for 150 quid. That's just never gonna happen. So it is what it is, and yeah, I'm just kind of matter of fact about it. I try not to just think about it too much. If I want a game, then you kind of garner the going price, don't you? And as long as you're doing it then you can mostly get your money back for it if you decide to move it on.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So there was this flurry of early activity, the lockup, the games. You then go to uni and girls and beer and all the stuff, and clearly obviously some studying as well. That's just surely a bit of that. And then you say you go home, and I take it throughout this time you still have pinball machines at home. So you've gone away to uni, I take it.
That's it. Yeah. So I went away to Manchester. We actually took one with us. I took a Circus Voltaire with me and had it in my uni house for 2 years, which was cool.
You must have been really popular.
Honestly, no one played it.
Like, really?
We didn't. Yeah, we just like, it was all about birds.
Of course it was. Did the birds not play it?
No. Honestly, it really didn't get switched on, and that was the stupid thing. Really, it was. I sold it way too cheap. One of my mates, Neil Fellender, in Weston, he was the one who was after it at the time, and he missed it by a week. I actually sold it. I think it's actually the one that Mike Kindler's got now, and he's taken it to Daventry this year. So as it always is, we're talking 15 years later or whatever. It's still in the community. It's still about. I think he's still got my initials on it underneath the machine. But yeah, he's moved hands a few times. But I think I sold it for $2,000, which again, considering what it is now, is just like, but you always do that, don't you? $2,000 at the time was the going rate. So
yeah. No, I'm sure something's clicked into place there just when you said someone's name. So I bought my first ever pinball machine off Neil Fellender.
Oh, did you? Okay, yeah.
I did. There was an advert on, it was eBay. I know, shop horror. Fancy buying a pinball machine off eBay, and it was a Popeye.
Okay, yeah. I played that Popeye, yeah.
Well, because now it's fallen into place. Okay. He very kindly drove it up, a Volvo or something like that, if I remember right. He had an estate of some description. He certainly wasn't doing a Scott with a pinball's arse hanging out the arse of a hatchback. But he brought it up. He set it up for me. I knew nothing. And he was really. He brought his dog up, actually. Thinking about it, he's got a dog, isn't he?
Yeah, Willow.
Yeah, he brought his dog up. Nice dog. So he brought his dog up, and he set it up in the lounge. And I've got a video somewhere. I'll pop it up on here at some point of me getting a pinball machine, and I've got a video of showing my kids. But he came in, he set it up, And I remember him playing it and him talking about he was playing in tournaments. And it was the first time I'd ever seen anybody let the ball run down a playfield and pop from one flipper to another.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And he turned around and he said, yeah, he said, one of my mates who lives near me, he says, one of the best players in the country. And he taught me to do all this stuff. So I think he meant you.
He did mean me. Yeah. Like we're pretty close, me and Neil. Like, so Neil has made it. So Pinball Madness is his website. He's a good guy. You know, he's made a living from pinball. That's what he does. You know, so some people might bulk at some of his prices and stuff like that, but ultimately the work that he does is second to none, in my opinion. And I've been doing it for a long time. His machines are brilliant. I know that Popeye wasn't, you know, but that wasn't one of his fully refurbished games. But
no, he didn't say that he'd refurbished it. To be fair to him,
but his games are top notch, and he does an amazing job. But yeah, I don't see him too much anymore because I've got kids now and stuff. But you know, he's a good guy.
Well, he told me he had pretty much emptied his house of everything. But to be fair, he did invite me down to play, but I'm just never down that neck of the woods anyway. He said he pretty much emptied his house. He over time, he sort of lost a sofa and lost a dining table, and then his house just became full up with pinball machines, basically.
That's it. Yeah, his collection is awesome. He's got like a Tron LE. He's got a Star Trek LE. He's got some wonderful games, some older games as well, some proper classics like Addams Family, Preacher, and all that kind of stuff. He's scaling it back now, but he's over the years he's had just as many games as I have.
No, he was to be fair, he was a really good guy, and I think for the first 2 or 3 months, certainly before I got on the forum, he was my port of call.
Yeah.
For anything, you know, where do I get a bulb from, Neil? Where do I get this from? And, you know, he always answered the phone. He was very, very good. To be perfectly honest with you, and there was nothing wrong with the Popeye, by the way. There was nothing wrong with it at all. It worked, and it was. And I know Popeye gets an awful lot of stick, but that first pinball machine. Well, and to talk about your one, it's interesting that your first experience of it wasn't great, but you still went and got another one, because I do think it's actually quite crucial, that thing. And actually the Popeye was good enough that I've been playing pinball for enough years. We'll get my mate Spencer on at some point, who did a barn find and has got a good story himself. So I've been playing his pinball machine or two for a number of years, but to get my own was a really, really big thing. So I think to get it, and then just to be hitting the flippers around, and it's got a big multi-ball on it because it's a wide body to pop. I thought, actually, this is great. And I didn't know at the time that the animal kicker was crap and all that stuff. And and Steve Ritchie had written some big blog about how crap Popeye was. I didn't know any of this stuff. I just got told afterwards. But I loved it, and it was enough for me to think, yeah, I'm going to persevere with this hobby, basically.
I think honestly, I feel the same. Like that's the reality. Like there's almost no pinball machine that I feel like is crap. There's in my opinion, you know, I just love pinball. There are pinball machines that I rate more than others, but like I just love playing pinball, like and that is all eras. You know, the majority of the guests that you've had so far on here, we've been talking about the modern stuff, but you know, I want to talk about some of the older stuff as well, because the majority of my collection is the older stuff.
Well, let's talk about it. Tell me about your collection.
Okay. Well, at the moment, I'm down to, I think it's about 14, something like that. But I think my oldest game, I've got like basically solid state Bally's are my bit of obsession at the moment. So I've got like Centaur, Flash Gordon, Paragon. I've just sold Skateball to Neil McRae. So I've got Bally Star Trek, Meteor, Stern Meteor. So I've got quite a few of the older ones, and then I've got some of the newer stuff as well, but nothing really new, nothing like what you guys have got. I think the newest game that I've had is Walking Dead, which I had for about a year. But I've never bought a new in-box game or anything like that.
Okay, so so a lot of these older games I've not played. You can't see it without me twisting everything around its base. I've got a big Flash Gordon poster behind there, so I love Flash Gordon anyway. So that's something that always appealed to me, and I hear that's a very good game, isn't it, Flash Gordon?
So I said Roadshow is my favorite game, and I've still got Roadshow, and it is, you know, it's one of those that, like, since I was 16, I've been saying Roadshow is my favorite game. It is my handle. It is one of those, and I still absolutely love it. But if I'm honest, Flash Gordon's my game. That is the one.
Really?
Yeah, it's the one. It's just the most brutal, brilliant, brilliant design, brilliant theme. You know, it is just, in my opinion, pure pinball. Like that, there's no gimmicks. It is just incredible pinball. Like that, like you'll hear me championing it on the forum and stuff like that. But and on obviously the prices of them have gone up in recent years. But it's a stunning looking thing.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It is. But the gameplay is just, it's just awesome. It's so hard to do the things that you need to do. You know, there's no wizard mode or anything like that, but you know, because you're trying to achieve points, you're trying to achieve more points than anybody else that has ever played that game before. And the way of being able to do that is bloody hard, but it's so good. And there's the flipper skills that you need to possess in order to be able to do it is really, really hard, and they are really hard things to do. So it's kind of, I probably started like you, really, like that. I just wanted the newest stuff, the stuff that was like cutting edge at the time, which for me in 1999 was like,
Sure,
you know,
sure.
Star Wars Episode 1 and South Park and Monopoly and stuff like that, which was, you know, it was a pretty dire time in terms of pinball. The pinball was nearly dying at the time when I kind of got into it. You know, Stern was talking about getting completely out of the game. They were the last company that existed, and it was like, and they were turning out crap like Roller Coaster Tycoon and High Roller Casino and stuff like that. And so it was like, well, the glory days are gone, and then it's just been very, very slowly eking back in. But I started out wanting the newest stuff and wanting Twilight Zone, wanting Addams Family and Creature and stuff like that, you know. So went through all those, and then I've just then kind of gone backwards, and it's kind of like what Neil McRae's doing almost as well, you know. So Neil obviously has bought and is still loving all these newer games, but the more tournaments that you play and the more games that you play, you start to garner this appreciation for the older stuff and understand what pinball was about back in the 80s. And obviously there's people on the forums who were about when Firepower was coming out or when Flash Gordon was coming out, and it's still going now, but it's just pure pinball. It's proper pinball, you know.
Well, yeah, I've got to. Well, I haven't spoken to Keith for a few months now, because I had to dip out of pinball for a little bit. But the intention was before to get Dolly. I take it you know Keith. You must know everybody.
Keith Burden.
Keith, that New Forest Pinball.
Yeah. So I'm good mates with Keith.
He's a lovely guy. Lovely.
He's done a few restorations for me. So he's done my skateball, he's done my Paragon, and he's done my Centaur as well. Yeah, he's a top bloke, and in my opinion, the best restorer out there in the country, certainly of that era of games. Yeah, he's a top bloke.
No, he's a really, really lovely guy, and he had my friend Spencer's Theatre of Magic for a while, and that came back in absolutely lovely condition. I've just got so much respect for what people like him and Chris do, and I don't know anything about it, but I've taken a pinball machine apart before, and I understand the skill involved in it, and just how they highly polish all these things up, and just having. I think it's a really, really important thing to do, to look at some of the shop logs. I know there's a lot of people who also know Alan's doing it at the moment, and that's really great. I know Keith sort of handed a couple of bits over to him to, because Alan was keen to get more involved in that sort of stuff. But I think it's so good to resurrect some of these things that are set for the rubbish heap, really, and to sort of bring them back to life for other people to enjoy, and is really, really quite something else. You say about Centaur. I've never seen one in the flesh, but anytime I've seen pictures of it, I thought, that's a good looking game,
I think it's probably the best looking game. Just the black and the white and the red is just beautiful, and the job Keith did on mine is just it's stunning, and he's chromed everything. It's just beautiful, and it's a great playing game. It's from, in my opinion, the best era of pinball. So 1980 to 1981. If you look at the games that they produced in that year, it's just unbelievable. It really is. It's the glory years.
I'll tell you what. Okay, so with that in mind, bearing in mind that's your favourite games, Roadshow. You've got these sort of 80s machines which you really love, and clearly you have a lot of them. I totally understand. I've not played Flash Gordon. I totally understand. Look, I'm a crap player, but I was even more crap before I had Attack from Mars. Because Attack from Mars forced me to do, because all it wanted to do was chuck the ball down the middle. It forced me to try and move the machine, and it gave you a little bit of time before it went down to the outlanes, which I do think, for me at my limited skill set is important. I need a little bit of reaction time. I think, it's going to go down the outline. I'll try and do something, because before I seemed to be almost frozen with fear, not wanting to move the machine. I'm sure you've taught people how to play pinball before, and I guess it's like a golf stroke. If you've got or a putting stroke, you've got the yips or something. You're almost frozen in fear watching this ball travel, and but I know the thing is to probably do something. And I think because Attack from Mars was hard, I know people might laugh at this and think, well, that's a relatively easy game, but it can be a little bit naughty. It taught me to do it. So with that bearing in mind, I'm sure playing Flash Gordon and things like that probably improve your pinball skills.
100%. That's ultimately why I got into that era of games, because when you go to these big tournaments, so I've played in the World Championship and stuff like that, and you have to play all era of games. So it's no good if you're just good at the new Sterns. You've got to be able to be good at all eras. And so if I wanted to take it seriously, if I wanted to get better, I had to learn how to be better on these older games. And so then that's when you get a better appreciation for this older stuff.
Okay, well, I really want to talk about the World Championships then, actually. This is partly to do with it. It doesn't matter if it's World Championships or something else. So I take it, if you're going to go to Pinfest and there's tournaments there and you're going to play in these tournaments, obviously, yeah?
Yeah. So the main tournament at Pinfest, I think they're calling it the UK Pin Brawl or something like that this year. But basically,
I like it. Yeah.
UK, it's basically the biggest tournament that we have in the UK, because it's the biggest event that we'll have. It's run by Wayne. So I mentioned Wayne before. Wayne is a massive guy in the community in terms of the tournament scene. He's the one who is the coordinator for the UK League, but he's also running along with a guy called Paul Garner, who's WizCat on the forum. The pair of them, they run the tournament, and it's a fantastic tournament. It's a format which is interesting, that we haven't done a lot of in the UK historically, but it's what they call it. So a small Papa qualifying. So Papa is the biggest event in the world, and we've basically taken their format and reduced it a little bit, made it simpler. So the Papa qualifying format is you play 5 games, and it's your rank over those 5 games that is then compared to everybody else's rank on 5 games. So it's brutal. It's a brutal qualifying format. It means you have to be super consistent. And what we've done is made it 3 games instead of 5. So it's not as brutal, but if you speak to Neil, like he did last night, he hates that format, because the thing is, you could have 2 great games, and then if you have a bomb out on that 3rd game, then you're not going to get in, because you need to be consistent on all 3, which makes it hard. It makes it.
Okay, excuse me, we just cut out for a little bit then. A couple of technical difficulties, but we're back on it. Where I got to, Craig, was the brutal nature of from the 5-ball game to the 3-ball game, mate, and you cut out for me at least.
Yeah, so not 5-ball game, 5 games. So
no,
it's all right. I just want to be clear on that. So basically, it's 5 pinball machines. Your rank, so the top score for the whole weekend will be worth 100 points. That's the way that it works. Okay, so and then every score down from that gets ranked against everybody else. So then that next one will be worth 95 points. And then the next one will be worth like 92, and then it grades out. So then it go 90, 89, 88. So the whole weekend, everybody's going to be playing on these machines, and the score is ranked against all the other scores. And so your 3 games, your qualifying ticket, will be ranked. So realistically, probably, and you need to get into the top 24 players in order to qualify. If you get 60 points per game, then you'll probably make it. So if you can be consistent, so you don't need to smash it out of the park, so a game that you know. So let's say Deadpool. So if you get 80 million on Deadpool. 80 million is a solid-ish score. It's not amazing, but it's not like you've got to smash it out of the park. You're probably somewhere in the middle, 60 points, let's say. So if you can get a consistently good score on 3 games, I would say you're probably going to qualify. So it's not about smashing it out of the park. It's not about going and getting the grand champion on every single game. Obviously, if you can, that would be amazing, and you're probably going to qualify number 1. But what it's all about is about consistency, and that's on the forum, Neil's complained about that because he said he can't be consistent. He can have good games, but he can't have that level of consistency over a number of games. But I got brought up on that. So that is the league format. So in the UK League, the thing that I've mentioned a few times, basically we play 6 games and it's your score compared against everybody else who's playing. And so all you need to do in order to do well in the league is be consistent on all of them. You can't afford to have any really bad game. So I think this format is excellent for Pinfest because it means that you feel like it's there. It's like you can do it. In fact, you might have done it on the last ticket. Do you know what I mean? You might have got 150 million on Deadpool on the last ticket, and so you think, all right, I can get that again. And so, but you've got 2 crap scores on the other 2 games, so it wasn't going to do it. So then you went over to another ticket, and you did better on the other 2 games. Your final game's Deadpool. You put 150 million up on the last time, and then you went and go get 8 million, and you fuck it up.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So
it's brutal.
Yeah. So is it with that? Is the I guess it's the same way you could. So no, don't worry about it. So if you could play any, it's a bit like playing any sport. I think there's an inclination sometimes maybe you play it a bit safe. I love my football. There's some football managers who might just play it safe, might play it defensive. So does that sort of stop you going for the risk reward shots? Maybe is it all about keeping the ball in play?
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. So let's take Creature from the Black Goon. Do you know Creature very well?
Not very well, no. But okay, I know it. I've played it. Yeah,
I think it's a classic competition game because, and in my opinion, one of the best games ever because of the fact that it has got this huge risk reward, which is going for multi-ball and going for the super jackpot and going on a 4x multiplier. Yeah, so in shooting that whirlpool ramp, that's where the multiplier is for the super jackpot in multi-ball. And then it's got this other strategy, which is move your car. So the tournament strategy for Creature is not the same as going for a grand champion score. So, sure. I think my top score on Creature is probably something like, I don't know, 4 billion or something like that, like a lot.
Yeah.
Which is many, many super jackpots times 4, lots and lots of times, which is great in the home environment. But the way that I play Creature in a tournament is not playing it that way. I would always just shoot the middle. And shooting that middle lane is move your car, and if you can catch it consistently on the right flipper as it's feeding back on that right in lane, catch it, shoot the middle, catch it, shoot the middle. If you can do that all day, you will put up 200-300 million. And I did it last time at Daventry at Pinfest, and I put up the top qualifying score, and it was like 260 million on what everybody was saying. Stay away from Creature. It's really, really hard. Because they're probably all trying to knock it out of the park and go for the super jackpot. And I just did that. I only played 1 game on it, and I got the grand champion on it. 260 million isn't much on Creature, but that was it for the whole weekend. That was the top score, and it wasn't a particularly good game that I had. It was boring. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that.
But it worked. I think I played probably 3 move your cars, did quite well on each of them, and that was it. So it is weighing those things up. And I know that there's this like kind of a bit of a division between those people who are interested in the tournament scene and those people who are just interested in collecting, or those people who are just interested in fixing the machines. But it's something obviously I've gone pretty deep on over the years. And so for example, coming up to so I won Pinfest last year.
Did you? I didn't know. Sorry, I'm coming to say ignorant, totally
right.
ignorant, mate. I really do. Well, congratulations, a belated congratulations.
No, it was a good one. I certainly don't win all the tournaments. There's some brilliant players in the UK, and also at Pinfest, because it's the biggest one we've got. We often get some international visitors. We won't this year sure. because of COVID and stuff like that. But it's normally a really competitive tournament. So I was really, really pleased to win that one last year. And I actually did it. I only came on the Sunday last time because I couldn't, because I just had a kid, and my wife was like, you can't do the whole weekend thing, and so I was like, I just went on the Sunday. So the way that Wayne and Paul run it is you have a 2 hour window on the morning where you can qualify. So I was going thinking, oh my god, I'm just going to try and qualify in those 2 hours, whereas everybody else had like the whole weekend to try and do it, but I managed to pit myself in there, and I went on to win it, and it's a fantastic thing. So Tim, who is Pinball Live, on the forum, I don't know if you've seen Tim, the setup that he's got, and I'm sure he's gonna be doing it again, streaming the whole event. It's second to none. It really is. It's other than kind of like Carl D'Angelo in the States for IE Pinball and all that kind of stuff, I would rank Tim right up there with the very best. That stream, he said recently that he's going to try and stick it up on YouTube, was just amazing, and you had I would say 50 to 100 people watching on the big screens and stuff, and it felt like it was a big tournament. Do you know what I mean? It felt fantastic, and so to go on and win that was awesome. And so, sorry, just going back to talking about like kind of strategy and all that kind of stuff. So you might have seen, so in the list of all the games that are going to Daventry, Wayne has listed the tournament games. He's already put them on the list. I think he's listed 9 out of 10 so far. And so, I've obviously then kind of thought, right, there are a few games there that I'm going to have to research. I'm going to have to find out a bit about, like Led Zeppelin, for example. So Neil's putting Led Zeppelin in there, which is awesome, because it's a game that almost no one's played. There's so few of them in the country, and so then stick it in the tournament. Neil has a large advantage over a lot of people, but if you really want to know what it is, then there's so many videos out there that you can watch, and you can learn the rules and all that kind of thing.
This was actually going to be one of my questions, particularly bearing in mind your love for the 80s machines and whatnot. I mean, you've sort of answered what I was going to ask them, which was you get these modern games come up and you are going to have to research it, I guess. And I mean, I've got this, you can't even see it. It's sort of at the start of the video, I was on full screen. I've got a cabinet there, which has got some pinball. I might even be able to see it just quickly there. It's got buttons on there. So this has got some pinball games on it. Well, that's all very well and good if you want to learn medieval madness or something like that, but things like Led Zeppelin are clearly not going to be on there yet. So how do you get around that? Because surely it can't just be enough to watch a video, because there's a feel for shots, isn't there?
Yeah. So I've never played Led Zeppelin. To be honest, so I've got 2 little boys who are both under 2. So my last 2 years, I've not played almost any pinball, if I'm honest, or very, very little. So going to Pinfest, I have not huge expectations, if I'm honest, because if you look at, like, as we saw yesterday, Neil's lineup of all the latest stuff, I've not played virtually any of them. So I've not played Led Zeppelin. I've played Star Wars a couple of times. You know what I mean? Like, so from Star Wars on, really, which Star Wars has been out for years now.
Sure.
I've not really played a lot of the new stuff. So in terms of my strategy, the way that I deal with it, obviously my skills are still there in terms of my basic flipper skills and my awareness of how pinball works. But in terms of game knowledge, I just get, for a tournament, one thing or 2 things that I know that the game does, and repeat. So like I said, it's not about being able to make it to the final wizard mode. I'm not going to be able to do that. And if somebody is able to do that and are able to do that in tournament, they'll beat me. Do you know what I mean? And there's no way around that. I'm not going to be able to beat that because I don't know the rules well enough on those newer games. But I'm basically banking myself that I can do the thing that I do know better than anybody else. And so I just repeat it over and over and over as many times as I can. And as long as it's an all right scoring strategy or something that's safe that I can repeat, then that's what I'll do. And I'll just try and repeat that. So in that lineup, I'm already looking at the ones that I'm going to use for qualifying. So I think you've got like Avatar there, you've got Getaway, there's JP2, so Jurassic Park. So I actually borrowed Wayne's Jurassic Park in lockdown for a few months, which was awesome. He's a great guy, and so it's been one of those things that I kind of realised that I'm going to be on the back foot in a lot of these tournaments now because of the newer stuff. I don't know it, so I thought I need to try and get one of these newer Sterns in order to learn the new rules. And so I thought I try and get Iron Maiden or Jurassic Park. I put a post out on the forum, and Wayne basically said that I could borrow his for a few months, which is just awesome. And so I've got a huge love for that game. That is a fantastic game, Jurassic Park.
Oh, I'd like it. I'd like it back. I think if so I owned it. I had it for a little bit. I don't regret selling it because it allowed me to get, the other stuff that I've got, sort of thing. I think if knowing what you said now, I know nothing about tournaments. I think even if it was just a case of you would say to me, right, you need to keep that ball in play for as long as possible and almost don't play the game, just keep the ball in play. I think I'd look at it. Okay, so this is what I would do, and I guess what you must do is highlight areas of danger on the playfield. So I think, right, let's keep away from that raptor pen. Let's just keep right away from that. You don't know what's going to happen. It could go bloody anywhere. Let's sort of try and keep it up this end of the playfield. At least then if something goes wrong, I've got 2/3 of the playfield to try and rectify it or something. I guess something like that.
That's exactly it. So you were using the example of Attack from Mars before, and that taught you to play better. So my argument is, just don't shoot the ship. Don't shoot it up the middle. Just don't do it. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Just don't do that. Just shoot the lock all day. So Cayley George, who is one of the best players in the world, that is the only way he does it. Just plays for Total Annihilation, or just plays for multi-ball. Just shoot the ramps, or just don't shoot dangerous shots.
Don't touch the drop targets and the saucer. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So just shoot. He just played multi-ball over and over and over. I think he'll play. If you get a repeatable Attack from Mars and you find that lock shot, then because super jackpots on that game start at 250 and then 500, 750, a billion. You could get 20 billion on that game just by playing multi-ball. If you're that good and you're that dialed into just shooting the lock shot, and there's nothing dangerous about it. So that is exactly it. What you said. So I would be choosing the games, that I know the best, but also the ones that I feel like I've got a safe strategy on, where I don't need to take risks. And just try and do that better than everybody else.
No, that's really. I'm looking. I didn't even think about this until you come on and done this. I'm really looking forward to watching this now. I'm watching it all play out. How does that? And if you watched one or the other, I know you've obviously watched a couple of them. Clearly, you've alluded to that. But whoever I think it might have been Scott when I was talking about the nerves that I have, and obviously you're gonna be more steely nerved than me because this is what you do. But the nerves I have when I'm lining up a shot, I can hit every day of the week, and all of a sudden, and I use Lords. Clearly, you've played Lord of the Rings. You must have done. That shot that you're hitting. It's an easy shot, the ring shot in Lord of the Rings, but put Gollum there and Mount Doom and the volcanoes going, and you've got to hit it, and the music's going, and I can't remember which game it is now, but I know there's a game where it's giving the heart. You get boom, 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 and you get all that sort of stuff going on. You think, oh God, and you miss it. How do you deal with that?
So a few things there. Lord of the Rings is awesome. Lord of the Rings is an amazing game. I have made it to Valinor. I did it once. Which was amazing. So that was. And no one else was in the house when I did it, and I was screaming. I was like, to my brother, Ryan, get down here, come and see this, come and see it. No one else was in the house.
No.
I was absolutely gutted. I just wanted to share it with, because I've heard you say I need to get the video camera out and film it. It was going to be my best game. And it was like that. To make it to Valinor. I think I had the game for a couple of years, and I think I made it after about a year and a half. And that is an awesome thing to achieve. There are harder Wizards modes out there, but I think in terms of the whole kind of just the game itself, the theme, all of those things together, the journey that you go on, it's a proper journey game. Everything you do on that game is just fantastic. So to actually do it and make it all that way was amazing. The heartbeat one you're on about, I think, is Bride of Pinball, because on that. So the idea behind Bride of Pinball, you've got the face and you're turning it over and you're trying to make her alive. Scott mentioned, and Neil then picked it up with these idea of pinball moments. That is the pinball moment that started it all for me. That when you make her alive, so basically on the third face, you get the balls in her eyes, and then it drops down, and then you start a 2-ball multi-ball. But basically, the whole machine shuts down. Which, this is a game that's made in 1989. Every single light on the playfield goes out, and then it's on that alphanumeric display. The do doom,
Sure.
doom, and then you heartbeat, and it goes doom doom, and then she goes, hi there, and then it's like, I'm alive, and then you make her alive, and it's just like, I always switch off all the lights in the room when that comes up, because it's just like atmospheric and just incredible moment. And it's a game that I've had in my collection. I literally only sold one in lockdown because of that moment, and it's just stayed with me for so long. And unfortunately, the reason I sold it is because it just became too easy. I was able to kind of complete it every time that I was playing it, because it's quite a simple game. But as a pinball moment goes, that's about it, you know. But yeah, in terms of nerves, in terms of being able to cope, and it's just doing it. You know, I think that there's a lot of reservation, especially with the tournament scene. Is kind of like, you think that you're going to be bad, and in reality, you won't be as bad as what you think you are. You know, having a go is fun. You know, I would encourage you. I know you've said as well in the past, it's like, oh, I'm crap at it, and all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, you know, go into Pinfest. I would really encourage you to just stick it, even if there's only one entry, because there's only 3 games. You've probably never played Led Zeppelin before. That's in a tournament bank. Go and play Led Zeppelin. Have a go on it. Go and play Jurassic Park. You know that game. And then chuck one else in there. I don't know, Getaway or Avatar, or one of the other ones, like one of the newer ones as well. And see how you get on. Compare yourself to the other scores. I guarantee you won't be down right at the bottom. You know, you won't be. You won't be. I promise you.
But I will. I'll take your advice, mate. I will. I'll have a go. What's your back and all that, you know.
I think the thing is with it, and this is the wonderful thing about weighing in Paul's tournament at this one, is it does encourage you to get involved, because a lot of the tournaments that I go to, and some of the bigger tournaments in Europe and in the world, you know, it is a huge time commitment in order to qualify.
Sure.
So basically, you know, it's all day, 9-10 hours, constantly playing against other people and all that kind of stuff. Whereas this ticket format, it just means, you know, for the entire weekend, you can just be chilling with your mates, having a beer, you know, having a chat, playing on the games that are just in the hall, and then you could go up and you can spend 20 minutes in the tournament bank and play your 3 games, and that's it. And I think, I don't know what the cost is going to be this year, but it's like a £5 maybe. Do you know what I mean? The outlay is not a lot. Do you know what I mean? And so I just think it works perfectly, and it encourages more people to get involved. And then you might get a bit of a bug for it, and you think, actually, I did all right on that one. I might have another go, you know? So I would encourage anyone to get involved with the tournament. It is good fun. Obviously, there's going to be people out there who take it a lot more seriously, like me, you know, who will research all the rules and all that kind of stuff. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to make it. Or, you know, all you've got to do is have 3 good games, just 3, you know, and you could be in the top 24, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, you're selling it. You're
that's my
selling the
pitch.
concept to me, mate. You are, you know, fair play. I got the, I've got a taste for it now. Now you mention it. Yeah, why not? Why not? I'll have a go. I really appreciate that. Will you? I do want to ask you one final question. As actually, no, before I do too, I take it you going to the Worlds. That's a massive financial commitment for you. You talk about time. I take it that the World Championships are not held in Bristol.
I wish. No.
Yeah.
No. So I think I've played in 2 or 3 World Championships. So basically, if you didn't know about this, which you might not have if you've not at all been into competitive pinball. So basically, have you heard of the IFPA? Do you know what that is? No. Okay. So the IFPA is the International Flipper Pinball Association. So there is a ranking system for everybody who has played in a competition that is assigned to the IFPA, and every single tournament, if that tournament director chooses, can be submitted for Whopper points, WPPR points.
Yeah, like golf and getting on the tour and stuff like that. Yeah,
golf is exactly the comparison. That's the way that you do it. So everybody in the world can compete against each other, which is great. And they've spent years and years and years fine tuning the formula in terms of how it works. And so Pinfest will be one of them. And you will get Whopper points. So these points. So depending on where you come. So let's say 100 people enter this tournament, and you come 56th or something like that. You will be assigned half a point or something like that, which will then give you a ranking in the UK.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So each country has its own UK has its own ranking, and then there's the whole world ranking as well. And so then every year there is a world championship that is held, and the top 64 people in the world get invited to that world championship. And it alternates every year. So one year it'll be held in the US, and one year it'll be held in Europe. So obviously, so it could be anywhere in the US and it could be anywhere in Europe, and each year it kind of changes in terms of the location. But it's only the top 64 that get invited. Except
that's impressive, mate.
Except there is a country assignment. So the top 2 in each country gets an invite. So actually, if so, for example, let's say our top 2 in the UK are the number 1 in the world and the number 3 in the world, then you are then in the at-large berth. So you've got to then get into the rest of them. So I think there's normally about 10 to 15 countries that send their top 2 competitors. So already that's 30 spots that have gone. So then you've got to be in that other 34 spots.
Okay, yeah.
So actually, sometimes the cut line is higher than 64. So you've got to be like 40th or something like that in the world. So in terms of the times that I've made it. I think I've made it once legitimately, as in not just being one of the top 1 or 2 in the UK. I think I was in the top 50. I think the best I've ever been is like 39th in the world or something like that.
That's pretty damn good, mate.
Which is good. Yeah, that was great. But just a goal throughout the year is to be in the top 2 in the UK, because that gets you that invite, which is really, really hard to do, because that realistically means you're going to have to be in the top 100 for sure, and probably in the top 60 or 70 if you're going to get into be one of those top in the UK, and then you get the invite. So I think the 2 that I've been to have been in Sweden and Germany. So I've never done.
How did you get on?
The first one that I went to was Germany. I came. So the way that it works is there's 2 days of qualifying, which is the most brutal format you could ever imagine. It's like, it's all 4-player games, and then each round you play an older one, a mid, and a new. So you've got to play like an electromechanical, you've got to play a mid-range game, then you've got to play a newer game. And when they say new, we're talking Bally Williams, like 90s onwards. So it could be Stern, it could be on a newer game. So you've got to really know the older stuff as well. And there's usually a location with like over 100 games, so you've got to know like some really weird stuff as well. And the first one that I went to, I actually qualified in 32nd spot after the 2 days, and 32nd is the bubble. So the top 32 go through to the finals on the next day.
You made the cut. Basically made the cut.
I was on the bubble. So there were 5 players who finished at 32 with only 2 spots, and it was on Dracula, and I got about 6 million, which is terrible. I absolutely bombed out. It was awful. And at that point, no one in the UK had ever even qualified. Actually, that's a lie. IFPA 5 was held in the UK, and Nick Marshall did. Nick Marshall, Stormy, MUFC on the forum. He's one of the admins. Top boy. Shout out Stormy. He was the only one who had ever qualified. I think he finished 20th until last championships, when Rich Mallet, who is another Southwest guy, shout out Rich, top boy, he qualified as well. So they are the only 2 people in the UK who've ever qualified for the finals in the World Championship. So I never have. So I think I joined 32nd, whatever that was. The other time was like 40 something. So never good enough to make it into of 64.
Impressive.
Of the best in the world. Yeah, I get that, but it's it's frustrating when you would go all that way and you're like, you really want to capture it, but it's one of those.
Right, I say final question. Actually, 2 final questions. Firstly, so you go in and you've sort of explained the rank and how you performed and last 32 and the having a stinker on Dracula and whatnot. Who's the best player in the world?
There is only one. And have you got one of his? Oh, you've had one of his. So Keith Elwin is the
Yes.
GOAT. He is the greatest of all time. There is no question about that.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. There's Sam, who owns Chief Coffee. Um,
Yes.
he shout out Sam. He would disagree with me. So there's basically this young guy who is unreal as well. Johannes Ostermeier, German guy. He's I think 18, 19. He's like the young pretender. He is the reigning world champion, and he is immense. And he may go on to usurp Keith, but Keith is standard the test of time. So Neil mentioned yesterday Pinberg, and I've mentioned it as well. So Pinberg is the pinnacle of our sport, if you can call it a sport. The last Pinberg, there were 1,000 players there. Keith won. Yeah. So out of 1,000 players, you've got to know all these machines. You're playing over 3 days. Keith won. He's done it 6 times. He has won that tournament 6 times. So out of 1,000, so everybody says that pinball is a game of luck. That there's an element of luck in it. Out of 1,000 players, he's done it 6 times. There's that completely instantly destroys any illusion that it's luck, that there's an element of luck in it, just in that single bit of evidence. There is an element of luck.
I don't think there's an element, but
There
the
is
elements like that and the skills
there
like
is
that.
an element, but
Yeah.
you make your own luck, and obviously depending on the format, the more games that you play, and I'm not saying he won every single game on the way to that victory, but at the time when it mattered, he's done it, and he's done it time and time and time again. There are other people out there as well. So Bowen Kerins, he's the famous one who's done all the tutorials. He's been world champion a few times. Kaylee George, I mentioned him a few times, but Johannes Ostermeier, he is the one to watch out for. Just type his name into YouTube or whatever. Watch some of the stuff that he's doing. He is doing things that no one's ever done before with a pinball machine. He's only 19. I think that's the thing, isn't it? I've been brought up on watching Bowen and Keith and these guys that I put up there as kind of gods, almost, in terms, and people might think that's ridiculous, but comparing them to the best in the world at their thing,
Yeah.
they are that, and they have written the rules of how to play pinball, and so we're all following that, and Johannes is then rewriting the rules, the things that he's doing. I've never seen anybody else doing, and because now people are streaming this stuff, it's like the flipper skills that he is, he's getting flipper skills named after him, because
Really?
he's that good. And honestly,
Really?
things that we've never seen before, and he's doing it like it's nothing, and not only it's great being able to do that, but then doing it consistently across all these different machines and different eras of games that were made 30 years before he was born, and being able to do it that consistently is just is immense. And the idea that I think that's the thing that for a lot of people who don't get competitive pinball, like I said, that there is this kind of bit of a division between those of us who are into the competitive side, and those that aren't. I think that is a driving factor for the 20-30 people who in the UK really give it, really care about it, is the idea that makes you want to be better, wants to spur you on. And if you've got that competitiveness in you, the idea that I've played against Keith Elwin, I've played against Bowen Kerins, I've played against Johannes Ostermeier, these people who, in terms of, our very, very niche hobby, and it is a hobby, but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Saying that, last week in the States, there was the Stern Pro Circuit tournament was shown on ESPN. So the idea that
I see. You think it's growing?
well, that's the whole point, and that's the whole point of the IFPA. So these tournament, the ranking points and all that kind of stuff is to grow it to the point where you can legitimately call it a sport. And there are people who would have arguments out there that would say it could never be considered a sport. But if you look at the Olympics and the kind of stuff that's in the Olympics now, I don't know if anybody watched that karate where they're just punch in the air. And people were getting awarded, not against anybody else, just punch in the air, and they're getting awarded a gold medal for it. Or archery, for example, a real closed skill where you just learn that one thing, and as long as you're the best in the world at that one thing. Pinball, I would argue, is in terms of actual skill set, is is the same. You know, is
It's an old argument, Craig. It's an old. It's
yeah.
actually a darts. It's actually a darts argument.
There you go. There you go. Yeah.
As I would recognise it, and it was actually an argument that was made. We digress slightly, but why not? It was an argument that was made when they were trying to introduce, I believe it was chess into it. And not that darts was in the Olympics or anything like it, but when they were trying to do that, they were saying, "Well, hold on, darts is trying to." And I don't play darts, right? I don't play darts. And I think you've got to break it down. It doesn't have to necessarily be athletic, but I would certainly separate darts from chess.
Sure.
Now, don't get me wrong. You know, you've got to be good at chess, and there's obviously something to it because the only chess player I know is Gary Kasparov, and that's many, many years ago. Now he would be able to whip everyone's ass because he's good at what he does. But it's strategy, it's thinking. Clearly, he had an intelligence that was above and beyond anybody else who could think moves ahead. Great skill. But it's not a sport. And I always said with darts, well, the thing with darts, you're bringing accuracy, you're bringing physicality into it. It might not be an athletic pursuit. You're bringing physicality into it. And everyone laughs at the big old fat darts players, but hold on a second. They've clearly got exceptional hand-eye coordination. Yeah. They clearly have accuracy, and there clearly is a skill to it. And this is my thought with pinball as well, in as much as it taps in, as I said it in the last one, it taps in to that something in us, the ability to want to catch a ball and strike a ball and be accurate. It's that thing. It's the reason that we stand in the kitchen, and when we take whatever, the wrapper off whatever, and we see the bin over there, we think, you know what?
Exactly right.
Because it's in us. It's in us.
Yeah. No, exactly right. Like it's tricky, isn't it? Chess is a really good comparison. And Rich, who is a guy that I mentioned before, Rich Mallet. So his handle on the group, he doesn't write on Pinball Info very much, but it's Rai Lopez. And I think that's a starting move in chess. So he's obviously a big chess player as well. But in terms of the rules knowledge of pinball, you know, I would definitely compare it to chess. You know, it is absolutely that, and you've got to know it, but not just for one game like in chess, which there are obviously huge complications, for sure. But you've got to know it across hundreds of different pinball machines, and the person who knows the knowledge on each of those games has a huge advantage when it comes to competition. But as well as that, and I'm agreeing with you with that, the physicality that is involved with that, you speak to Neil about it, what it's like at Pinburg when you spend 12 to 14 hours a day playing, mentally competing against these people over 3 days. The physicality aspect does come into it. You hear about the different kind of little techniques and the little things that people have found out, what they're doing in between the break sessions and doing plank and stuff like that, or wearing specific gear and all that kind of, in order to be able to cope with that situation. People may laugh about it. Do you know what I mean? In the same way, like you just described in terms of darts, but that's perhaps because they don't have a full understanding or appreciation of the absolute levels that people go to for this thing that they just consider to be a bit of fun, where you put a pound in and have a go, but actually there is, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, certainly not the majority, but a lot of the certainly top end competitors' opinion, there is certainly sport-like elements to what it is that we do. And so growing it is a real, forefront of, certainly PAPA and IFPA, the two big organizations within pinball. That's been their premise the whole time. And so you get the pass, like Neil, who was on last night, I know he gets a bad rap on the forum from a lot of people, but it's just because he cares. That's it. He just cares, and he cares about pinball so bloody much that he shares his opinion an awful lot of the time. But I think he's one of the best people for pinball because he's willing to put his money where his mouth is, ultimately, and put tournaments out there and grow it and trying to grow the scene. Like the idea that he could be the next person to hold a Pinburg, the idea that he wants to own 300 machines and bring the best people in the world over to the UK to run the tournament scene. That, in my opinion, is something to be championed. Yeah, he might rub people up the wrong way sometimes, but ultimately that's what it's about, about growing the scene. And him along with, I would say, like Matt Vince, who's another guy you should definitely get on the show.
Sure, okay,
He's the man who started Flip Out, and Neil mentioned.
Yeah, no, I've spoken to him on the forum, certainly. Yeah,
top man. Doing as much for the UK pinball scene as anybody out there. It's the competitive side of stuff isn't for everybody. But if you've got a little bit of a competitive nature in you, I think it's worth exploring. And it is, there's a whole rabbit hole that you can kind of go down.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating. I got to say, absolutely fascinating conversation. Will you come back and join me after Pinfest for a chat? Let me know how it's gone and whatnot.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully I'll be able to qualify and give you some stories about it. But of course I will, mate. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be there. I'm going to see you there. And I'll look forward. I really look forward to doing it.
Yeah,
And
I'll definitely come on and give you my kind of whole breakdown of it all, and give you the kind of inner workings of what I think's going on in the tournament, and give you some like ball by ball play, like analysis of what I think's going on and all that kind of stuff.
That's fantastic, mate. Just before I let you go, your favourite shot in pinball?
Yeah, so I've heard this on some of your other guests. I got two. Is that all right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So the hole-in-one shot on No Good Gophers. I don't know if you play No Good Gophers. There's going to be one. There's going to be one at Daventry. So have a go at it. It's really, really hard to do. So basically, there's like this little jump ramp that kind of comes down, it hits into the playfield, and then you've got to time it right. So then you shoot it, the ball physically jumps off the playfield into a hole that's at the back of the playfield, and you've got to get a hole in one.
Oh wow!
Amazing,
that's so good.
Amazing concept. Really, really hard to do. But when you do it and you actually mean to do it, it's fantastic.
Does it give you any time to celebrate it after you've done it?
Yeah, of course it does. Of course it does. Yeah. I don't actually rate No Good Gophers too much as a game, if I'm honest. But that is a shot. It's fantastic.
A great shot. Sure.
And then the other one is Gottlieb Spirit, which is a really cool System 80A or B game. It's really rare game, very cool game. It's got this. It's the longest shot in pinball, I would say. It's got this mental ball lock that you kind of have to hit this gate, and then the gate diverts it up to the top left to this scoop, which is right in the top left of the playfield. And you've got to make that shot in order to start the multi-ball. So there's 3 ball locks, and they're positioned all around the playfield. The other 2 are relatively easy to make, but that one is rock hard. It's like really, really hard. So again, with both of those, my favorite shots are the ones that are really, really tough to make. And when you do it and when you mean to do it, it just feels so damn good.
Sense of achievement. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah.
Absolutely, mate. Honestly, it's been, and I'll tell you, an education. Really, really. It's not only been an education. You've convinced me to sign up for the thing. So I'm gonna.
You don't need to sign up. That's the beauty of it. You don't need to sign up. You could just walk up, pay your money, and have a go.
I'm gonna do that.
Everyone do it. Everyone should do it.
I'll take my £5. That's a different. Neil's not dishing out apples as prizes for that one. That's a different thing, isn't it? That is
a different one.
I'm gonna win me apple, and I'm gonna attempt to enter that. It's been amazing talking to you, mate. I've really thoroughly enjoyed it. The Brew Education. I'm gonna kick you out now, back into the green room. Stay there. I'll say goodbye properly in a second. Thank you very much, Craig. Brilliant. I mean, how good was that? It was absolutely fantastic. Once again, thank you for everybody for joining in. Thank you, Craig. Keep the requests coming, please do. I'm going to try and get 2 or 3 more done this week, a couple more before Pinfest. Then hopefully it's just all helps. I know so many of you will already know Neil and you know Craig, and there's people that have met Scott before and have met Andy. But you know what? It all helps, and if we all just make another pal out of this, then it's all been a worthwhile venture. Right, I'm going to go and I think I'm going to go and research, what was it, Led Zeppelin? I'm going to go and research my shots on Led Zeppelin, work out my strategy on Jurassic Park, and I quite fancy it. Thanks, everybody, for joining in once again. Please do click a like. Please do click a subscribe. And if you know anybody else on pinball websites or whatnot, anything like that, you can share this video. Be very much appreciated.